to know that employers nowadays won't openly admit discrimination like they did in the 70s. There were cases in the 70s that said, well, this is just what we do. Now they don't say that. They engage in sophisticated means, in overt means, and they tell their supervisors and these agents who have been raised improperly and taught a different way, they tell them, hey, listen, make sure that you don't write anything down. Make sure it's not documented. Because what happened to me and my wife didn't happen at all. It did not happen at all. I was in front of a district judge, Esther Salas, the Honorable Esther Salas, and she said to me, sir, I wish I could help you. But they said that you never complained. I said, I understand that, but I'm confused, Your Honor. She said, I really don't have time, Mr. Barnett. I said, but Your Honor, if you would just indulge me, I need you to explain this. And I raised up a letter that was mailed to my address from the Executive Director of New Jersey Transit's Equal Opportunity Employment Commission, and it was a request for me to withdraw my complaint. And I said, Your Honor, I'm confused about how I could possibly withdraw a complaint that they say I never made. Now, this U.S. federal judge stood up on that bench in front of whoever was there, and she said, now I'm confused. She said, somebody's lying to me, and it can't be Mr. Barnett because he's produced a letter, an original signed document, asking him to withdraw a complaint that you say he never made. You understand? And it is what gave us the first ear. And the thing is,
just for the sake of time, if you can, we have to get out of here real soon.
Okay.
If you could just kind of wrap it up, and what we can do is that, we can actually give you time to come on South Orange Maple Online with your experience,
okay,
and to kind of continue this discussion.
Okay.
So we will more than be willing to give you. Free time to talk about it.
I apologize.
I know. But we just have.
In wrapping it up, my wife and I, we seek all the support that we can garner in this fight. As she said, out of 491 civil rights petitions for writ of certiorari, in other words, to be heard by the Supreme Court, 484 were denied. Of the 7 remaining, hers is one, and this is without the benefit of any legal counsel. And so as we've done everything what the Supreme Court requested was that we present a petition that's in compliance with their rules. They require 40 copies, and it's got to be on opaque paper, and this is like a $4,000 or $5,000 endeavor that we don't have per se. So my wife has started a GoFundMe account and seeking from strangers and anybody with that would be touched by what we've said and the effort and the struggle that we're in to help us to get her case presented and reviewed, because if she doesn't meet that February 2nd deadline, it would be dismissed. So
hopefully we can have you guys on the show.
Yeah, we're gonna definitely have you guys on the show, and we could dedicate a full show to the plight.
I would love that.
And that's what the South Orange Maple Online Media Experience
you
is
said
about.
something about South Orange and Maplewood, and I'll go back and say diversity is one of the reasons why we wanted to move here. When we were locomotive engineers, we were looking at houses for $800,000. We're like, yes, we're gonna be here, and then it's happened to us, and we still managed. We were in a place over our prospect, and I think that the school systems, and I think that our neighbors, and for the most part, the community. I just love being here. It's like an oasis. It's a beautiful place.
All right, so thank you so much.
I thank you guys for your time and patience.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think TJ had one question before we start wrapping it up.
Yeah, just
wait. But Wayne, did you want to say? I think we can just ask
Wayne. This is gonna be a long.
Sorry.
Thank you, Wayne. President.
Sure. Briefly, you hear about something, and when I heard about this, something that attracted me was, well, what is the Get Out Foundation all about? I'm excited to hear about that. And again, as an individual, I started a little thing called Global Soma a couple years ago. I see some real opportunities for people who are interested in sort of international experiences for people, for all our children to be collaborating. So great idea.
Thanks.
Another thing that attracted me, and I know we all move on and have different passions, but I remember some years back, Marjorie, you were involved in some thinking about options, charters, all that. And that stuff is politically hot. We all get it, that people have valid concerns, valid issues. But is that one of the things that, thinking about leadership, what is the model for nowadays? Is it a model in which we say it's this level of integration that's got to be? Is it a model that, there is material options available that are of special interest for African Americans, for others? We got to think about those things. We got to talk about it. So that's what really attracted me to this event, that it struck me as having that lively spirit of openness. And, there's going to be, back and forth, and people won't always agree, and often won't agree. The best families have some fights, and that's the way it's got to be. Last thing that really appealed to me as I was hearing people talk in leadership for now is, since I moved to this area, we've been going to a little church in Orange, Unitarian church there. And, we've really had our struggles, and we got a minister now. And I sort of, when I was listening and thinking about what is black leadership now, is it in this little church that those of us who are not black are going to get out of the way and sort of create some space for black leadership to flourish in Orange in our church? I don't know the answers, to be honest, I've been with this church for years. Been the president in the past. And I'm just wrestling with the things right now, thinking about, but it's helpful to be here this morning. Just, appreciate it. So thanks so much for, setting the post.
I think on the South Orange Maple Online Radio Experience, and I challenge people in here, to tell other ones about the South Orange Maple Online Radio Experience. I have something that I say, because I'm from Trinidad and Tobago, it's called plain talk, bad manners. I tend to like to give plain talk, but sometimes it may seem like it's bad manners. But most of the time, it is actually plain talk. Donna, do you want to say anything?
Say something, Donna.
Yeah, is the young man over there, the vice principal, you want to say anything?
I'm still listening. I will at some point.
You're still listening? Okay. Where's
Would Dr. Williams, you got anything to say?
Yeah, Joanna, why don't you come over here,
Just greet others. We keep calling people while they're eating.
Yeah, you're going to go back and have your breakfast. But just so you
while
know,
we're waiting on John, I'd like you to have Zakiya read this announcement.
Just if you are listening, I know there are people out there who are listening. The Community Coalition also has an event today at the St. Joseph Catholic Church at 2 p.m. It's located at 7767 Prospect Street in Maplewood. It starts at 2 p.m. The speaker is Joseph Ford, Selma Freedom Rider. It's always freedom. Joseph Ford, Selma Freedom Rider. It's featuring Greg Buford Jazz Trio, Voices in Harmony, and Kenny Vaughan. And then there'll be a volunteer fair following at 3 p.m. Donations are welcome. Food pantry contribution, canned goods, cereal, jam, peanut butter, powdered milk, used eyeglasses, yarn to knit cancer patient caps. It's co-hosted by the St. Joseph Catholic Church and the First Baptist Church of Maplewood. So after this event, if you want to be MLK-rized for the day, you can go to
Ansel, you're making up words again. MLK rise.
I do have a tendency to make up words. So next you're going to hear from Joanna.
Okay.
I don't know if it's morning.
It's still morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm actually happy to be here. Margaret had originally asked me to speak, and I had other things on my agenda. And in talking with Wayne last night, he convinced me to sort of tighten things up and try and get through. And so that's exactly what I did. And
Thank
so,
you.
You're welcome. And so I'm happy to be here. Anytime we're talking about important issues, it's important that we get out ahead of things as opposed to being behind. And I just want to give a little shout out to the students at Columbia High School who have had the courage to have the dialogue that adults are afraid to have. And so as we look to communicate and do things to engage the community and the stakeholders and everyone, the taxpayers, it will behoove us to listen to the students and begin to communicate in a different way. And that's what we plan on doing as a new onset of the board and the town and the school system. So that's very important. I think that's basically all I have to say is we're going to have to learn to communicate a lot better with people. And that's at the top of our agenda, to change the way we do it, and also to respond to people. And so, again, I'm really, really proud of the students, and we need to get them on board with us to show us the way. So parents have done a great job with their children. So I'm real proud of that.
So there you
I'd just
have
like
it.
to say ditto.
Thank you, Donna Smith.
You know, we have two young ladies here. You know, we always like to hear from the young people as well, because sometimes, you know, we tend to want to monetize. You know that word? Monetize.
That's not the right word. This is the radio show.
That's a Wall Street perspective word.
Oh, okay. All right.
We're going to have these two young ladies here.
Former Columbia High School students.
Let's say something on
What is your... give them a good question, TJ.
Well, I just want to say something. Last night, me and her, we watched the Boondocks episode, which Mr. Whitaker introduced us to in high school. About Martin Luther King. And it was very interesting. I haven't seen it in years. And I think after watching it now and actually having more of an idea of black issues, or actually being more immersed into it, I think Aaron Magruder hit it right on the nail. And I really think that black people, at least my generation, I know, and I remember I was having this conversation with Abdul a couple of weeks ago, I'm just afraid that a lot of people don't really care that much about what's going on, and it takes something like what happened with Trayvon and Eric Garner and stuff like that for people to care for like 2 seconds, and it's already kind of dissipated. All of the anger and all of that stuff has already kind of dissipated in a way. I mean, there's a march today. We went to the Millions March. This is my activist best friend. So we do everything together, and that started through Mr. Whitaker with his MLK club and Messengers of Black Cultural Awareness that we were in charge of in high school. But also in high school, since we were so active, I also realized that now being in college and being removed from people like Mr. Whitaker and Mr. Mastro and now Dr. Cooper and all of those very influential people besides my mother. And Abdul when he comes over to talk sometimes. It's just, there's not a lot of people who are really discussing. And when you're removed from that type of environment, you become more far removed. And I went to an HBCU and I was around a whole bunch of black people. None of them wanted to talk about that. You know what I'm saying? They want to talk about everything else and being on fleek and taking selfies, and that's just the culture now. And it's going to take a lot. I don't know how many more people have to get shot. I don't know what has to happen. I don't know, maybe something needs to explode. But, I'm not like, sorry. But
Another show. Can we have that show too? Can I have that show
Something
too?
needs to explode show.
But it's just going to take a lot, and
Something
people
needs to
just don't
explode.
care
Someone
about
needs
that
to-
right
yeah.
now. And I mean, we do, and I can probably name about 3 other friends of mine that do. And I mean, there's a few young black people on the news that are discussing everything they do, but overall, no one's really thinking about that. And like, our issue is trying to figure out how to really address that.
On a positive
Come
note,
up.
I'm really grateful to be from South Orange, New Floyd. I was fortunate to go to school, 2 different schools, and I graduated from Rutgers, but it was really interesting seeing how different environments really don't talk about race and civil rights and those things, and I'm just really grateful to be from Maplewood, South Orange, where the community embraces social change and, the future. So, yeah, I really wasn't that prepared, but I would have been, so, yeah, I'm just grateful.
You're doing great, Cynthia.
Thank you so much. Let
me say something.
Yeah, I gotta say one of the goals on as far as SOMA is concerned too is that we would like to get a program, a sort of a high school program. Maybe it's once a week, so we can discuss not from a negative perspective. Because I read the book The Power of Positive Thinking by Norman Vincent Peale, but from the perspective of that, how can we do better? I also read the book The Magic of Thinking Big by Dr. David Schwartz, and then most of the people that I come in contact with, I always recommend those 2 books to them. But how can we be better? How can we be ahead of the curve? How can we be proactive? Rather than waiting for things to happen,
That's right.
and then we react. But how can we be proactive? If we see something, there's you go into the subway, they say if you see something, do something or say something. If you see something, say something. If we see something, do something. Rather than waiting for other people to come do it, let's do it ourselves. Because in these 2 communities of South Orange and Maplewood, I tell you, these are fantastic, wonderful, excellent, the word wondrous?
Yes.
That's a real word.
That's a real word, right? Wondrous communities. And we want to continue with these type of communities, but we also have to be proactive.
You know, speaking of wondrous communities.
Wondrous, not wondrous. Wondrous. That's DROU.
Wondrous communities.
Bye.